Hey, this is Moritz from Wolkify.com, and today I want to talk about not improving incrementally, but exponentially. So what you can see behind me is actually one of the outskirts of Stockholm. I just moved here exactly 1 week ago, and I so far really don't regret it. I mean, check this place out. It is beautiful. This is literally like 300 meters behind my house. So I really can't complain right now. But I want to talk a little bit about really improving a lot faster than you thought was ever possible for yourself. And this actually is closely tied in to me moving to Stockholm a week ago. Before I moved to Stockholm, I was living back in my hometown. I moved back in with my parents because I was unemployed and looking for a job since I just got out of university. And in these 6 months that I actually spent living at home again, I tried to pay attention to not completely falling off the wagon in terms of improving myself. I try to read at least an hour a day. I try to study foreign languages, Swedish for example. I try to work out regularly. I try to get more into healthy cooking and really improving my diet. So I did do all these things, and I thought like, okay, I'm doing pretty well. I'm really making the most out of my days, even though, let's face it, being unemployed sucks, and you're just spending a lot of time waiting on responses by the companies you applied for. So I had all this free time, and I felt like I was doing a pretty good job just utilizing is the right word, utilizing this free time that I had. But then a week ago, I eventually moved to Stockholm, where I found a job, and I was super excited to be here. I've been loving Sweden for a long time, and it was always one of my dreams to move back to Sweden and actually work here for good. So I got to Stockholm, and I knew nobody or next to nobody. I obviously didn't know anyone at the company I was gonna work for. I didn't know quite exactly what I was gonna do at my job even. I didn't know where I was gonna live. I didn't know who I was gonna live with. So I had like all these things that I was uncertain of. And I knew the first week especially is gonna be tough. So I'm not gonna lie, it was tough. It was really tough because the job was just so demanding, and there was so much input within this first week at work alone. And then I also had to go out socializing after work. I had to meet my flatmates. I had to set myself up in terms of furniture and, buying groceries and figuring out where the supermarket is and figuring out where I want to go to the gym and setting up all these things, getting a metro card, whatnot, you name it, I did it this week. It was just a lot of organizing my life here in Stockholm. And it turned out you can accomplish a lot in a single day or a single week. You can really, if you're awake 16 hours a day, you can accomplish so much more than you think. And I noticed that compared to the life that I lived in Germany before, when I was unemployed, it was just no comparison. I mean, back in Germany, I would work out a little, I would cook a little, I would read a little, but basically that was it. I would meet with friends, of course, socialize, but I would waste a lot of time without even consciously noticing it. And here in Sweden, I was just forced to cut out this time that I was wasting. There was just no time for me to waste. I did not have the time to fucking lie on my bed and watch a 3-hour movie. I just didn't have the time, I would come home from work, exhausted, tired, and then I would have to, get to know my flatmates or whatnot. And wake up early the next morning. So really not much time to waste there. And I really noticed how much you can get out of 16 hours or make it 18 hours if you don't sleep that much. And if you do that consistently, you can accomplish a lot in just a week. I mean, it's been my first week now, and I already am pretty satisfied with the life that I set up here. Of course, there's still a lot to do, and like I have to be consistent about what I want to improve on and what I want to accomplish here in Stockholm. But in a nutshell, I did pretty well this first week and really made the most out of the first week I had here, so to say. So this really got me thinking, how can you make it happen that you are not improving in these small incremental steps? How can you make sure that you really go out and you're just killing it? I mean, you're doing so much better than you did the day before, and even exponentially better than the day you did before that. How is that possible? How can you get to that point, and how can you force yourself to get to that point if you don't have external forces pressuring you to get into that state of mind? And I realized if you want to make these big changes, these major changes, not just these minor incremental ones, you have to get some outside perspective. And you can only get that outside perspective if you leave your everyday normal life behind for at least a short while and really reflect on what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So for me, that was pretty easy now that I just changed everything in my life. Meaning the place where I live and the work that I do and the people I hang out with. Everything just changed from one day to the next. So it was easy for me to really go and reflect on the life I had the last 6 months before that. But if you're not willing to do that as I did, which I totally understand, then I would highly recommend that you try to make room in your life every now and then to really I don't know, take a week or take a couple of days even just and really drive outside the city, maybe visit some friends in a different city, maybe go on a short vacation, do anything to really get out of your daily routine, out of your rut. And while you do that, don't just enjoy the moment that you're in, but also reflect on the life you left behind, even if it's only for a short while. Reflect on how the life you live outside your actual life is different from what you do on a day-to-day basis. And then really reflect on how you can implement certain parts of that, I call it outside of your life, which sounds totally confusing, I know. Take what works in that outside life and implement it into your day-to-day life. So, okay, it's getting a little bit bright here. We got the Nordic sun beaming into my camera, so I'm just gonna move a little bit. Ugh, sunny as shit here in Sweden. Who would have thought, right? So, really go and try to get that outside perspective on your life. Try to get to a point where you can reflect, and also don't judge yourself. Don't reflect with judgment, but reflect and then change. We're all not perfect and we're all messing up from time to time. And I know the last 6 months, even though I felt I was being productive, so to say, compared to my last week, I was not even being close to productive. I mean, you could call my last 6 months anything but productive compared to my last week. So it's always a question of perspective, and you can only get that perspective, that outside view on your life, if you actually change your perspective for a little while. And I would highly recommend that you try that from time to time. Just because it gives you really insights in what you're doing wrong maybe, and what you could improve on your life. So keep that in mind, and as always, talk to you next time.